The throne room of Emperor Thaxilor stretched vast and golden, filled with the representatives of 847 conquered species. Each one knew their place. Each one understood the natural order of the galaxy. The Galactic Throne had ruled for 10,000 years, and no one questioned its authority anymore. Today, however, the humans were making noise. Ambassador Park Ji-woo stood before the elevated throne, her dark suit simple compared to the elaborate robes and armor surrounding her. She held a data tablet in steady hands, but her expression showed nothing but calm disappointment. "Your Imperial Majesty," Park said, her voice clear in the vast chamber. "Humanity requests fair trade agreements. We ask for protection from the raiding fleets that attack our merchant vessels. We seek partnership, not charity." Emperor Thaxilor leaned back in his crystalline throne, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. His scaled face showed amusement. Nothing more. Around him, the War Council exchanged glances. Some smiled. Others made sounds that might have been laughter. "Partnership," the Emperor repeated, tasting the word. "You have been part of galactic civilization for 50 years. Human? 50 years. Some species in this chamber have served the throne for 6,000 years. What makes you think you deserve equal standing?" Park's jaw tightened slightly, but her voice remained steady. "We deserve it because we are sovereign people. We have built colonies on 14 worlds. We have developed trade with 17 independent species. We have harmed no one and threatened no one. We ask only for respect." Our General Krell, the throne's supreme military commander, stepped forward. His massive frame towered over the human ambassador. "Respect is earned through strength. Your military consists of outdated ships using fusion drives and kinetic weapons. Your largest vessel masses only 800,000 tons. You are children playing with toys." Park looked up at the general without flinching. "Strength comes in many forms, General. We prefer not to demonstrate all of them." The throne room erupted in genuine laughter this time. The Emperor himself made a rumbling sound of amusement. Even the other ambassadors, who usually maintained diplomatic silence, allowed themselves small smiles. "Is that a threat?" Thaxilor asked, his tone light. "Are you threatening the Galactic Throne?" "No, Your Majesty," Park replied quietly. "It is a statement of fact. Humanity came to this galaxy seeking friends. We hoped to find civilizations that valued cooperation over domination. We see now that we were mistaken about the throne." The Emperor's amusement faded. His eyes narrowed. "You forget yourself, human. The throne does not negotiate with inferiors. We make demands, and the wise comply. ATN. Then demand," Park said simply. Thaxilor gestured, and a holographic display materialized in the center of the throne room. It showed human space, the 14 colony worlds connected by thin trade routes. It looked small, vulnerable, insignificant compared to the vast territories controlled by the throne. "These are our terms," the Emperor announced. "Humanity will accept vassal status under the throne. You will pay annual tribute of 40% of your gross production. You will surrender administrative control of your 3 most developed colony worlds. You will limit your military to system defense forces only. In exchange, the throne will provide protection and allow you to exist." The throne room fell silent. Every species represented there had heard similar terms before. Most had accepted. Those who refused no longer existed. Park looked at the holographic display for a long moment. Then she looked back at the Emperor. "And if we refuse? Then the throne will be forced to bring order to your chaotic little corner of space," General Krell said. "We will pacify your worlds. We will establish proper governance. We will teach you the price of arrogance." Park nodded slowly, as if this was exactly what she had expected. She touched her data tablet, transmitting something. She looked directly at Emperor Thaxilor, and for the first time, something cold entered her expression. Humanity rejects your terms entirely. We will not submit. We will not pay tribute. We will not surrender our worlds. We came here hoping for partners. We are leaving with no illusions. If you choose to attack us, you will discover that your intelligence about humanity is incomplete, dangerously incomplete. The Emperor stood, his full height dominating the throne room. You dare refuse? You dare threaten us? I threaten nothing, Your Majesty. I simply inform you. There is a difference. Park bowed. The gesture minimal, and clearly perfunctory. Humanity wishes you well. We hope wisdom finds you before consequences do. She turned and walked toward the exit. No one stopped her. They were too shocked by the audacity. When the doors closed behind the human ambassador, the War Council erupted into heated discussion. Crush them immediately, one admiral demanded. Make an example. Send the Fifth Fleet, another suggested. 10 capital ships should be more than sufficient. General Krell raised a hand for silence. We must consider the optics. If we send too small a force and they resist longer than expected, we look weak. If we send too large a force, we look like we fear them. What do you suggest? The Emperor asked. The Third Royal Armada, Krell replied. 50 capital ships, including 3 dreadnoughts. Overwhelming force that still shows restraint. We offer them one final chance to surrender. When they refuse, we demonstrate what happens to those who defy the throne. Thoxilor considered this, then nodded. Make it so. But give them 10 standard cycles to reconsider. Let them stew in fear. Let them imagine what is coming. And if they actually have hidden defenses? A younger counselor asked nervously. What if the human was not bluffing? The throne room fell silent for a moment. Then, the Emperor laughed, and the others joined in. They have been in galactic space for 50 years, Thoxilor said. Every species we have encountered has shown their full technological capability within the first decade. It is impossible to hide advanced technology. The humans use fusion and kinetics because that is all they have. The ambassador was bluffing, hoping to buy time or mercy. General Krell nodded. Our intelligence is thorough, Your Majesty. We have scanned their shipyards, their industrial centers, their research facilities. They are exactly what they appear to be. Primitive newcomers who do not understand how the galaxy truly works. Then we will teach them, the Emperor declared. Send the Third Armada. Give the humans their 10 cycles. Then show them the price of pride. The War Council dispersed to make preparations. None of them noticed the small detail that should have concerned them. None of them wondered why a species that appeared so primitive would have the confidence to refuse the Galactic Throne. None of them asked the obvious question. What did humanity know that they did not? 10 cycles began counting down. The Third Royal Armada prepared for what they assumed would be a simple demonstration of power. 50 capital ships gathered, their crews confident, and their commanders eager for easy glory. Humanity, meanwhile, sent a single encrypted message to Earth. 3 words that would change everything. They chose poorly. The colony world of New Busan hung like a blue jewel against the darkness of space. 3 million humans called it home. Living in cities that blended Earth architectural styles with adaptations for the planet's slightly higher gravity. It was peaceful, productive, completely unprepared for war, or so it seemed. Governor Kim Min-seo stood in the Planetary Command Center, watching the threat board with steady eyes. 50 red markers had just entered the system, moving in perfect formation toward New Busan. The Third Royal Armada had arrived exactly on schedule. All civilian populations to shelters, Kim ordered. Her voice remained calm, despite the situation. Priority evacuation for children and elderly. Everyone else follows emergency protocols. Governor, her defense coordinator said nervously, our orbital platforms cannot stop that fleet. We have 8 defensive satellites with plasma cannons. They have 50 capital ships with shields we cannot penetrate. I know, Kim replied. That is why we are not going to fight them. Then we surrender? I did not say that either. The defense coordinator looked confused, but he had learned not to question the governor when she had that expression. Kim had been appointed to New Busan specifically because of her performance during the first contact crisis 6 years ago. She had kept her head when others panicked. She would keep it now. The communications system crackled to life. A harsh alien voice filled the command center, broadcasting on all frequencies. Human colony designated New Busan. This is Commander Vexthal of the Third Royal Armada. You have defied the Galactic Throne. You have refused terms of vassalage. This is your final opportunity to surrender. Lower your defensive systems. Prepare to receive throne administrators. Comply within 1 standard hour, or face pacification measures. Kim touched the transmit button. Commander Vexthal. This is Governor Kim Min-seo. New Busan is a sovereign human colony. We reject your demands. We will not surrender. Silence on the other end. Kim could imagine the commander's surprise. Most species capitulated when faced with overwhelming force. Most species were smart enough to recognize they were beaten. Vexthal's voice returned, colder now. You understand we have 50 capital ships? You understand your defenses are meaningless. We understand perfectly, Kim said. Do you understand that we warned you? Do you understand that you were given every chance to choose peace? Empty words from primitives, Vexthal snarled. You have 30 minutes to reconsider. Then, we demonstrate what happens to the foolish. The transmission cut off. Kim's command staff looked at her with worried faces. She pulled up the tactical display, watching the throne fleet begin moving into bombardment formation. They were targeting specific coordinates. Buildings that intelligence had identified as military installations. Kim allowed herself a small smile. Those buildings were empty warehouses that humanity had specifically marked, with energy signatures resembling weapons storage. The throne sensors saw what humanity wanted them to see. Governor, the sensor operator said suddenly, I am detecting spatial anomalies at the edge of the system. Multiple contacts appearing on long-range scanners. Kim leaned forward. Show me. The display shifted. Small distortions appeared in space. Dozens of them scattered across the system's outer boundary. They looked like sensor ghosts, barely visible readings that could have been equipment malfunctions. What are they? The defense coordinator asked. Unknown, the sensor operator replied. The signatures do not match anything in our database. They are too small to be ships, but too organized to be natural phenomena. Kim watched the distortions grow stronger. Open a channel to Commander Vexthal. He needs to see this too. Governor, why would we? Just do it. The channel opened. Vexthal's face appeared on the screen, his expression annoyed. What do you want, human? Come to beg for mercy? No, Commander. I thought you should know you are not alone in this system anymore. Vexthal frowned. What are you talking about? Check your long-range sensors. Edge of the system. Multiple contacts. There was a pause while Vexthal consulted with his own sensor operators. When he looked back at the screen, confusion had replaced annoyance. What are those readings? What have you deployed? Nothing, Kim said truthfully. Those are not ours. Then whose are they? Kim folded her hands on her desk. Commander, when humanity first entered galactic space, we made a choice. We chose to appear weak. We chose to use older technology in our public-facing vessels. We chose to seem primitive and harmless. What are you saying? I am saying that you never asked the right questions. You assumed we showed you everything. You assumed we had no secrets. You were wrong. The tactical display updated. The spatial distortions were resolving now, becoming clearer as whatever was causing them moved closer. The throne fleet's sensors were detecting them too. Kim could see ships breaking formation slightly, weapons tracking toward the unknown contacts. Reveal your defensive platforms, Vexthal demanded. Now. Those are not defensive platforms, Commander. One of the distortions, larger than the others, appeared to be moving directly toward the throne fleet. As it approached, Space around it began to shimmer and bend. Light refracted strangely. Sensors screamed warnings about gravitational distortions that should not exist. What is that? Vexthal's voice had lost its confidence. He was staring at something his instruments could not properly identify. Kim watched the readings with satisfaction. That, Commander, is the reason we came to your Emperor, seeking peace rather than making demands. We tried to spare you this. The distortion reached critical distance. Whatever was hiding inside, it began dropping its concealment. The cloak field, one of humanity's most closely guarded technologies, dissolved like morning fog. The throne fleet's sensors finally got a clear reading. Every alarm on every ship began screaming at once. Impossible, Vexthal whispered. Governor Kim looked at the tactical display showing the vessel that had just revealed itself. It was massive beyond anything the throne fleet had ever encountered. 5 kilometers of angular, predatory design that made the throne dreadnoughts look like escort frigates. Its hull was dark, absorbing sensor beams rather than reflecting them. Energy readings from its core suggested power generation that should not be possible with any known technology. Commander, Kim said quietly, allow me to introduce the TRSS Indomitable Will, Titangent-class dreadnought of the Terran Republic Space Service. She is commanded by Captain Lee Sang-min, who I believe would like to speak with you. Oh, the main screen shifted. A new face appeared, a human woman wearing a dark uniform with minimal decoration. Her expression was neutral, almost bored. Behind her, the bridge of the Indomitable Will showed systems and displays that looked centuries beyond throne technology. Commander Vexthal, Captain Lee said, her voice polite and professional. I am Captain Lee Sang-min. I am here to request that you stand down and withdraw from this system immediately. Vexthal stared at her, his face cycling through several shades of emotion. What? What is that ship? How did you build something like that? We have been building ships like this for 40 years, Commander. This one is actually from our 3rd generation of Titangent-class vessels. We have 7 more in active service, with 3 more under construction. Impossible. Our intelligence would have detected construction on that scale. Captain Lee smiled slightly. Your intelligence detected exactly what we wanted you to detect. We showed you fusion drive cruisers and kinetic weapons because we needed to understand who in this galaxy could be trusted with the truth. The Galactic Throne failed that test. Vexthal's hands clenched. You lied. You deceived the entire galactic community. One. We protected ourselves, Lee corrected. There is a difference. Now, Commander, I am asking you nicely. Withdraw your fleet. Return to throne space. Inform your Emperor that humanity is not what he believed. Tell him we are still willing to negotiate, but only as equals. I have 50 capital ships, Vexthal shouted. You are 1 vessel. Captain Lee's smile faded. Yes, we are 1 vessel. Please do not make us demonstrate what that means. Commander, Vexthal stared at the impossible ship hanging in space before his fleet. Every instrument on his flagship was screaming warnings. The power signature alone from the human vessel exceeded the combined output of his entire armada. The readings made no sense. They violated known physics. They suggested technology that should not exist. Analysis, Vexthal demanded. His bridge crew worked frantically at their stations. Commander, our sensors are having difficulty penetrating the hull, his chief science officer reported. The material appears to absorb or redirect. Most active scanning, what readings we do get, suggest armor plating at least 3 times denser than our best hull materials. The power core is generating energy at rates that should trigger containment failure, but their systems show perfect stability. Weapons? Unknown. We detect multiple launch bays and what appear to be turret emplacements, but they are not active. We cannot determine their capabilities without them firing. Vexthal's blood ran cold. A ship that size, with that much power, carrying weapons of unknown capability. He had 50 ships. The humans had revealed one. What if there were more hiding under those spatial distortions? On the screen, Captain Lee waited patiently. Her expression showed neither fear nor aggression. She simply looked prepared. Captain Lee, Vexthal said carefully. You claim this vessel represents human military capability. Yet humanity has operated in galactic space for 50 years, showing nothing remotely like this. Explain. Vex. Unraison. Vex. Vex. Unraison. Unraison. Lee nodded as if expecting the question. 53 years ago, humanity detected the first signals indicating an active galactic civilization. Our governments understood immediately that we faced a choice. We could reveal our full capabilities and likely provoke either fear or greed. Or we could appear primitive and observe. We chose observation. You deliberately deceived us. We deliberately protected ourselves, Lee corrected. Every ship humanity has operated in galactic space uses export-grade technology, real technology, functional technology, but decades behind what we actually use. We needed to understand the galactic political landscape before committing ourselves. And what did you learn? Lee's expression hardened slightly. We learned that the Galactic Throne conquers rather than cooperates. We learned that most species operate on principles of domination and submission. We learned that showing weakness invites exploitation. So we kept our secrets and waited to see if anyone would value partnership over power. Vexthal felt anger rising. You manipulated us. You made us underestimate you. We gave you exactly the information you demanded and never asked for more, Lee replied. Your intelligence services scanned our public shipyards. They analyzed our merchant vessels. They observed our colony defenses. Everything you saw was real. You simply assumed it was everything we had. That was your mistake, not our deception. The bridge of Vexthal's flagship felt suddenly smaller. He looked at his tactical display, at his 50 proud warships arrayed in perfect formation. They had seemed so powerful an hour ago. Now they looked fragile. Inadequate. What do you want? Vexthal asked quietly. I want you to leave this system, Lee said. I want you to return to your emperor and tell him the truth about humanity. I want him to understand that we sought peace, not from weakness, but from principle. And I want him to reconsider his demands. And if I refuse? If I attack anyway? Lee sighed. Then you will force me to demonstrate capabilities that I would prefer to keep theoretical. Commander, I have a crew of 800 aboard this vessel. Most of them are young. Many are on their first deep space deployment. They signed up to explore and protect, not to kill. Please, do not make me order them to do something that will haunt them. Vexthal felt the weight of the decision. He was a military commander. He had orders. He had pride. He had a reputation. But he also had responsibility for the lives of 60,000 crew members spread across 50 ships. He made his choice. All ships, acquire targeting locks on the human vessel, Vexthal ordered. Prepare to fire on my command. On the screen, Captain Lee's expression fell. She looked genuinely disappointed. Commander, please reconsider. You are one ship, Vexthal said, trying to sound confident. Advanced. Yes. Impressive. Yes. But you cannot fight 50 capital ships. Our combined firepower will overwhelm any defense. Surrender now, and we will show mercy. Lee closed her eyes briefly, as if seeking patience. When they opened, all warmth had vanished. Weapons free. Defensive posture only. Do not fire unless fired upon. All ships, fire, Vexthal commanded. 50 capital ships opened fire simultaneously. Plasma lances cut through space. Antimatter torpedoes streaked toward their target. And graviton beams bent space-time itself. The combined assault represented enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The indomitable will sat motionless as the attack arrived. No shields flickered to life. No defensive systems activated. The vessel simply endured. Plasma impacted the hull and dissipated like water on hot stone. Antimatter torpedoes detonated against the armor plating, and the explosions washed over the surface without leaving marks. Graviton beams struck and failed to grip, sliding off hull material that somehow refused to be affected by artificial gravity manipulation. When the barrage ended, the indomitable will hung in space exactly as before. Not a single system showed damage. Not one section of hull bore a scar. Vexthal's bridge fell absolutely silent. His crew stared at their displays with expressions of disbelief and horror. "Science officer," Vexthal said, his voice barely a whisper. "Damage assessment. Commander. There is no damage. Our weapons had zero effect. The hull plating appears to be constructed from something our databases do not recognize. It is not shielded. It is simply too dense and too stable for our weapons to affect. It is like we fired at a small piece of a neutron star." On the screen, Captain Lee looked directly at Vexthal. Her voice, when she spoke, was gentle, almost sad. "We really hoped you would reconsider, Commander." The indomitable will's weapon systems activated. Across its hull, turrets rotated into firing positions. Launch bays opened, revealing missile tubes, and deep within the ship, systems that bent physics itself powered up with a sound that registered as a low hum across every sensor in the system. "Commander," the tactical officer said, voice shaking. "Their weapons are locking on. Multiple targeting solutions. I count over 200 active weapon systems. Each one is generating more power than our main batteries." Vexthal felt ice in his veins. "Captain Lee, wait. You had your chance for peace, Commander. You fired on us. Now you will learn why humanity chose patience over conquest. You will learn why we sought friends instead of demonstrating power. You will learn, and you will carry this lesson back to your Emperor." Lee turned to someone off-screen. Fire. The indomitable will opened fire, and the Third Royal Armada discovered what true military superiority looked like. Point defense systems tracking faster than throne sensors could follow intercepted every incoming projectile. Hypervelocity munitions moving at 85% light speed crossed the distance to targets before throne computers even registered the launch. But Captain Lee had given one critical order before firing. The targeting protocols were set to disable, not destroy. Every shot was precisely calculated to cripple without killing. Mass driver rounds passed within meters of throne ships, and the gravitational shear from their passage tore armor plating free and collapsed shield emitters. Directed energy weapons hit propulsion systems with surgical precision, leaving everything else intact. Missiles deployed electromagnetic pulse warheads that fried electronics, while leaving life support functional. In less than 30 seconds, 50 capital ships of the Third Royal Armada went from combat-ready to dead in space. Engines offline, weapons disabled, shields collapsed, drifting helplessly, with only life support and basic communications still functioning. Not one crew member had been killed, not one ship had been destroyed, but every vessel was completely, utterly helpless. Captain Lee's voice carried across every communication channel in the system. "Your crews are alive, Commander Vexthal. Your ships can be repaired. We did not want to kill you. We do not want to be your enemies. But you need to understand something fundamental about humanity. When we offer peace, we mean it. When we promise consequences, we mean that too." The throne room of Emperor Thaxilor was in chaos. Advisors shouted over each other. Military commanders argued about impossible data. Intelligence officers frantically reviewed every file they had on humanity, searching for how they had missed something this significant. The Emperor sat motionless on his crystalline throne, watching the holographic display showing real-time feeds from the Third Armada. 50 proud warships drifted powerless in space, around New Busan. A single human vessel sat among them, like a predator that had proven its point. "This cannot be real," General Krell said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Our intelligence was thorough. We monitored human space for decades. They cannot have hidden technology this advanced." "They did," Taxilor said quietly. "They absolutely did. The question is, what else have they hidden?" An intelligence analyst stepped forward nervously. "Your Majesty, we have been reviewing all data on humanity with new parameters, looking for what we missed, and we found discrepancies we previously dismissed. Energy consumption on Earth significantly exceeds what their visible technology should require. We detected unusual materials in their cargo manifests that do not match any known trade goods. Several of their colony worlds have construction patterns inconsistent with their declared infrastructure. We saw all these anomalies. We dismissed them as data errors or cultural differences. But they were clues," Taxilor said. "Yes, Your Majesty. Humanity has maintained two completely separate technological bases. One for external use, one for internal. Every ship that left human space was deliberately outdated. Every sensor scan of their facilities was carefully managed. They have been showing us exactly what they wanted us to see for 5 decades. General Krell slammed his fist on a console. "This is unacceptable. This is a violation of galactic norms. All species reveal their capabilities during first contact. Apparently not all species," Taxilor observed. "How many more ships like that do they have?" The intelligence analyst consulted his datapad. "Unknown, Your Majesty. However, we have detected similar spatial distortions near 7 other human worlds in past sensor logs. We dismissed them as equipment glitches. Now we suspect they were cloaked vessels. 7 more dreadnoughts. At minimum, Your Majesty. And that vessel, the Indomitable Will, is their 3rd-generation design, according to Captain Lee. They have been building these for 40 years. There could be dozens." The throne room fell silent. Every person present understood mathematics. Even if humanity only had 8 of those vessels, they represented a military capability that could challenge the entire throne fleet. If they had more, if their other warships used similar technology, what about their smaller vessels? Taxilor asked. "The cruisers and frigates we have observed? We must assume those are also outdated export models, Your Majesty. Their actual military vessels probably use the same advanced technology as the dreadnought." General Krell looked at the display showing the disabled 3rd Armada. "How did they achieve this? Technology does not advance this rapidly. It takes centuries to develop new fundamental capabilities. Unless you start from a different foundation," a science advisor said. "Your Majesty, our analysts have been examining the weapon signatures from the human dreadnought. The physics involved suggest they are using quantum state processing, zero-point energy extraction, and manipulation of fundamental forces we barely understand in theory. If humanity developed along a different technological path than the rest of galactic civilization, they would have capabilities we never imagined." Taxilor finished. "They are not just advanced. They are different. They are different," a communication officer interrupted. "Your Majesty, we are receiving a direct transmission from the human vessel. Captain Lee requests to speak with you personally." Taxilor straightened on his throne. "Put her through." The main holographic display shifted. Captain Lee Sang-min appeared, still on the bridge of her massive warship. She looked tired, disappointed, but not angry. "Emperor Taxilor," she said, inclining her head slightly. "I apologize that we meet under these circumstances. You disabled my entire fleet," Taxilor said coldly. 50 capital ships. "I disabled their weapons and propulsion," Lee corrected. "All crew members are alive and unharmed. All ships can be repaired. I could have destroyed them, Your Majesty. I chose not to." You want gratitude for mercy you showed after attacking my forces? No, Your Majesty. I want you to understand that humanity never wanted this conflict. We came to your throne room asking for peace. Your ambassador dismissed us. Your general mocked us. You demanded submission. You sent a fleet to conquer our worlds. We defended ourselves. Thaxilor felt the weight of truth in her words. He had been arrogant. He had assumed human weakness. He had ordered this attack. The consequences were his responsibility. Why did you hide your capabilities? He asked. Why not reveal your strength during first contact? Lee's expression softened slightly. Because we have studied galactic history, Your Majesty. We watched how species react to superior technology. Some respond with fear and aggression. Others attempt exploitation or theft. Very few respond with genuine partnership. We wanted to identify which species valued justice over power. Before revealing ourselves, you were testing us. We were protecting ourselves while learning who could be trusted. The Galactic Throne failed that test. You saw apparent weakness and responded with demands for submission. You proved that you only respect strength, not sovereignty. Thaxilor felt shame, an emotion he had not experienced in centuries of rule. What do you want from us now? What we always wanted, Your Majesty. Fair treatment. Equal standing. Partnership instead of domination. But now, those terms come with a demonstration of why they should be granted. You could destroy us, Thaxilor said. It was not a question. Probably, Lee admitted. But we do not want to. Humanity gained nothing from revealing our capabilities except security. We would prefer to gain friends and allies. We still believe cooperation benefits everyone more than conquest. General Krell stepped forward. You expect us to trust you now? After this deception? Lee looked at the general with steady eyes. I expect you to trust evidence. We had the power to destroy your fleet. We disabled them instead. We had the power to conquer throne territory while your ships are scattered and vulnerable. We are not doing that. We are offering terms, again, with the hope that this time you will accept them as the genuine offer they have always been. Thaxilor stood from his throne. The entire room watched him. And if we refuse, if we mobilize our full military strength against you, then you will lose, Lee said simply, and many will die, your people and mine. For what? Pride? Territory? We are offering you a way forward that costs you nothing but arrogance, Your Majesty. We are offering partnership with a species that could have chosen conquest, but chose cooperation instead. That should tell you something about who we are. The Emperor looked at his war council, at his advisors, at the displays showing his helpless fleet. He had ruled for 300 years. He had conquered 40 systems. He had never admitted weakness or error, but he had also never faced an opponent like this. An opponent that won decisively and offered peace in the same moment. An opponent that demonstrated overwhelming power and restraint simultaneously. What are your terms? Thaxilor asked quietly. Lee pulled up a document on her display. Full sovereign recognition for humanity. Trade agreements on equal footing. 3 seats on the Galactic Council. Mutual defense pacts. Technology exchange programs with appropriate safeguards. And a formal apology for the attack on New Busan. You ask for much. We ask for what we deserve, Your Majesty. We offer much in return. Medical technology. Agricultural techniques. Infrastructure designs. And protection. The galaxy has many threats. Humanity would prefer to face them with allies, rather than creating new enemies through pride. Thaxilor looked at the displayed terms. They were fair. Reasonable. Nothing in them suggested conquest or humiliation. They asked for equality. Nothing more. I accept, the Emperor said. Send your ambassadors. We will negotiate the details formally. Captain Lee smiled. And for the first time, It reached her eyes. I believe this is the beginning of something better. 6 months after the incident at New Busan, the Galactic Council chambers looked different. 3 new seats had been added to the circular assembly, positioned at equal height with all other permanent members. In those seats sat human representatives, including Ambassador Park Ji-woo, who now chaired the Council's Trade and Security Subcommittee. Emperor Thoxilor watched from his position across the chamber. The human ambassador was presenting a proposal for joint patrol fleets in regions plagued by piracy. Her presentation was thorough, detailed, and included commitments of human vessels and resources. She was not asking for favors. She was offering solutions. The Kethrin Reach has suffered 47 attacks on merchant vessels in the past standard year, Park explained, displaying tactical maps. The raiders are using hit-and-run tactics against trade convoys. Current throne patrol coverage is insufficient due to the region's size and the speed required to respond to attacks. What do you propose? Asked Ambassador Zelvix of the Vren Commonwealth. Humanity will deploy 4 rapid response frigates to the region. We will coordinate with throne patrol vessels already stationed there. Our ships use enhanced sensor systems and can respond to distress signals within minutes instead of hours. We ask nothing in return except cooperation and data sharing, the council chamber murmured. 6 months ago, such an offer would have been seen as an attempt to project power. Now, after seeing what human power actually looked like, it was recognized for what it truly was: an offer of protection. The council accepts, Chaxilor said. The throne will provide logistical support and coordinate our patrol schedules with human deployment. Park bowed her head. Thank you, Your Majesty. We will have vessels in position within 2 weeks. After the council session ended, Thoxilor found himself walking with Park through the station gardens. It had become something of a routine. These informal discussions where real understanding happened. Your people adapt quickly, Thoxilor observed. 6 months ago you were outsiders. Now you chair committees and deploy protection fleets. 6 months ago you tried to conquer us, Park replied gently. Now we are allies. Both sides adapted. Your Majesty, I underestimated humanity. It was a costly mistake. You assumed we were weak because we appeared weak. It was a natural assumption, but you learned. That is what matters. Thoxilor stopped walking, looking at a flowering plant from his homeworld. I must ask you something, Ambassador. Why did humanity truly hide their capabilities? You said it was to identify trustworthy species. But there is more to it. Is there not? Park considered the question carefully. When humanity first reached the stars, we were terrified. Your Majesty, we found a galaxy full of ancient civilizations, powerful militaries, and complex politics. We were the newcomers, the unknowns. We had 2 choices: announce ourselves as powerful and invite immediate threat assessment, or appear harmless and buy time to understand the galaxy. We chose time. You chose wisely. We chose survival. If we had revealed our full capabilities during first contact, every major power would have either tried to ally with us for our technology or tried to eliminate us as a threat. By appearing primitive, we became invisible, unimportant, beneath notice. It gave us 50 years to observe, learn, and prepare. Prepare for what? For being ready when someone finally noticed us and decided we were worth conquering, Park said quietly. We knew eventually someone would. The galaxy does not leave valuable territory uncontrolled. We just hoped that by the time it happened, we would understand enough to respond appropriately. Thoxilor felt the weight of that strategy. You planned for this exact situation. We planned for many situations, Your Majesty. They walked in silence for a while. Eventually, Thoxilor asked the question that had haunted him. How many ships, like the indomitable Will, do you have? Park smiled. Enough, Your Majesty. Enough to protect ourselves and our allies. That is all that matters. You will not tell me. Would you tell us the exact size and deployment of your fleet? No, Thaxilor admitted. But I am curious. And concerned. Do not be concerned, Your Majesty. We meant what we said. We want partners, not subjects. Every action we have taken in 6 months has demonstrated that. We patrol against pirates. We share medical technology. We offer infrastructure assistance. We protect species that cannot protect themselves. Does that look like an empire building toward conquest? No, Thaxilor admitted. It looks like something else. Something the galaxy has not seen in a long time. What is that? Hope, the Emperor said softly. You give smaller species hope that power can be used for protection instead of domination. That is more dangerous to the old order than any weapon. Park laughed. Dangerous to empires built on fear, perhaps, but beneficial to everyone else. In another part of the galaxy, Governor Kim Min-seo stood on the observation deck of New Busan's orbital station, watching ships come and go. Merchant vessels, passenger liners, science ships, and military escorts moved in steady streams. The colony had grown significantly in 6 months, population increasing by 20%, as humans and aliens both sought to settle in what had become the symbolic heart of humanity's emergence. Below her, on the planet's surface, the empty warehouses that had served as decoy targets during the battle were being converted into a museum. The Museum of Peaceful Emergence, as it was being called, would tell the story of how humanity chose patience over power. Governor, her aide said, approaching. The indomitable will is departing system. Captain Lee wanted to say goodbye before she leaves. Kim turned to the communication panel. Lee's face appeared, looking exactly as composed as always. Behind her, the bridge crew prepared the massive vessel for transit. Captain, Kim said warmly, I hear you are finally going home. For a while, Lee confirmed. My rotation is complete. The indomitable will remain stationed here, but under the command of my first officer, Commander Pak Tae-jun. He is good. He will protect New Busan as I did. You did more than protect us, Captain. You changed the galaxy. Lee shook her head. I fired a few warning shots. Nothing more. You showed restraint when you could have shown destruction. That changed everything. The smaller species see it. They understand what it means. What does it mean, Governor? It means that power does not have to corrupt. It means that strength can be used to protect the weak instead of exploiting them. You demonstrated that in 30 seconds of precise fire. The entire galaxy watched. They saw humanity cripple 50 warships without killing anyone. They saw us offer peace immediately after victory. That is why 17 species have requested formal diplomatic relations with Earth in the past 6 months. Lee smiled. Perhaps. But I was just following orders, Governor. The real credit belongs to the people who chose this strategy 50 years ago, who decided humanity would be patient and careful, rather than bold and aggressive. They chose wisely. They chose survival. Everything else followed from that choice. The indomitable will's engines activated, their power signature washing across every sensor in the system. The massive vessel began moving, gliding through space with impossible grace for something so large. As it passed the orbital station, Kim watched it go with mixed feelings. Pride, certainly. Relief that her world was safe. But also, understanding of what that ship represented. Humanity had emerged. The secret was revealed. There was no going back to anonymity and invisibility. From now on, Earth would be a major power, whether they wanted to be or not. The question was, what kind of power they would become. On the bridge of the indomitable will, Captain Lee Sang-min watched New Busan fade into the distance. She had spent 6 months stationed there, a silent guardian protecting the world that had become the flashpoint of humanity's revelation. Now, she was going home to Earth, to family and rest. Her first officer, Pak Tae-jun, stood beside her. Captain, do you think it will last? The peace with the throne? Lee considered the question, I think it depends on both sides. The throne must accept that domination is no longer their only option. Humanity must remember why we chose patience in the first place. And if either side forgets, then there will be war. Real war. Not a demonstration or a warning shot. And that would be tragic because we proved something important at New Busan. We proved that power does not require cruelty. That strength can coexist with mercy. If we forget that lesson, if we become what we defended against, then all of this was meaningless. Pak nodded slowly. I will remember, Captain. The crew will remember. Good. Because you are not just protecting New Busan now, Commander. You are protecting an idea. The idea that humanity can be strong without being cruel. Powerful without being corrupt. That idea is more important than this ship. Than any weapon we have built. As long as we hold to that idea, we can face anything. The indomitable will activated its jump drive, and space folded around the massive vessel. In seconds, it had vanished from the New Busan system, leaving behind only a slight distortion in local space that faded within minutes. Below, on the planet's surface, construction continued on the museum. Workers carefully preserved the scorch marks on the empty warehouses where thrown weapons had struck. They would serve as reminders of the day humanity revealed itself. Not with conquest, but with precision. Not with slaughter, but with restraint. The galaxy had changed. The old order, built on domination and fear, was cracking. Smaller species looked to humanity with hope. Larger empires watched with wary respect. And in council chambers across known space, leaders began asking themselves an uncomfortable question. If humanity could be this powerful and still choose peace, what did that say about everyone else who had chosen otherwise? The answer to that question would shape the next era of galactic civilization. But for now, 6 months after an unknown human warship decloaked and changed everything, there was peace. Fragile, uncertain peace built on mutual respect and demonstrated capability. It was not perfect, but it was a beginning. And sometimes, a beginning was enough. The council chamber held representatives from 40 different species. Ambassador Ji-won Park sat in the human section, her hands folded on the desk before her. She had been on the Galactic Council for 3 years now. In that time, she had learned patience. She had learned diplomacy. Today, she would learn something else entirely. The main screen flickered to life. Every representative turned to look. A face appeared. Scaled and proud. Supreme Overlord Krethen of the Valorian Empire stared out at them with cold yellow eyes. People of the galaxy, Krethen said, his voice smooth and confident. For 300 years, the Valorian Empire has brought order to chaos. We have conquered 47 worlds. We have made the weak strong through our guidance. Now, we turn our attention to the human colonies. Ji-won felt her stomach tighten. Around her, other ambassadors shifted uncomfortably. The Valorians were known for their brutality. They crushed resistance without mercy. We offer humanity a simple choice, Krethen continued. Surrender all colony worlds to Valorian protection within 48 hours. Accept our rule peacefully. Or face the consequences of defiance. The transmission ended. The chamber erupted in conversation. The council president, a tall being from the Nexari species, called for order. Ambassador Park, what is Earth's response? Ji-won stood slowly. Earth does not negotiate with threats. Our colonies are sovereign human territory. We will defend them. Many ambassadors looked worried. Some looked sympathetic. A few looked relieved that it was not their species being threatened. The Thelian ambassador, an old friend, leaned toward her. Be careful, Ji-won. The Valorians do not make empty threats. Neither do humans, she replied quietly. 48 hours passed. Earth sent warships to defend New Harmony, the closest human colony to Valorian space. It was not enough. The Valorian fleet was massive, overwhelming. The The human defense fleet fought bravely, but was destroyed in 6 hours. Then came the broadcast. Every screen in the galaxy lit up simultaneously. The Valorians had seized control of communication networks across known space. Everyone would watch what happened next. G1 sat in her quarters on the council station, her personal screen showing the same feed as billions of others. She saw New Harmony from orbit. The colony had 9 million people. Farmers, teachers, children, elderly couples who had retired there for the peaceful life. Krathen appeared on screen again. "This is the price of defiance," he said simply. The bombardment began. It was not a military strike. It was an execution. Valorian ships fired precisely on cities, towns, and villages. They were not trying to conquer the planet. They were making an example. G1 watched in horror as orbital strikes destroyed population centers one by one. The broadcast showed people running, trying to find shelter. There was nowhere to hide. The massacre lasted 6 hours. The Valorians took their time. They made sure everyone could see. They wanted the galaxy to witness what happened to those who resisted their rule. When it ended, 9 million humans were dead. Krathen appeared on screen one final time. "This is mercy," he said. "Continued resistance will bring total annihilation. Other human worlds have 72 hours to surrender. Choose wisely." The transmission ended. Silence filled the council chamber when the representatives gathered in emergency session an hour later. Many looked sick. Even species that had no love for humanity seemed shaken by what they had witnessed. "This is unprecedented," the council president said, his voice unsteady. "The targeting of civilians on this scale. We must condemn." "Condemn?" G1's voice cut through the chamber. She stood, and every eye turned to her. Her face showed no emotion. Her voice was completely steady. "You will condemn? With words? The Valorians just murdered 9 million of my people? Broadcast it for entertainment? And you will respond with condemnation? Ambassador Park, please understand. I understand perfectly." G1 gathered her documents. "I understand that the Galactic Council is worse than useless. You watched them kill our children for 6 hours and did nothing. Now you will watch what happens next." She walked toward the exit. The Thelian ambassador called after her. "G1, wait. What will Earth do?" She stopped at the door and turned back. Her eyes swept across the chamber, meeting the gaze of species both ancient and young, powerful and weak. When she spoke, her voice carried to every corner of the room. "You wanted to see humanity beg for mercy. You wanted to see us collapse in fear. Instead, you will witness something else entirely." She paused, letting the silence stretch. "The Valorians made their choice. They showed us who they are. They showed us what they think of human life. Now, we will show them what it means to awaken something that should have been left sleeping." "What does that mean?" someone asked. "It means that the Valorian Empire made the worst mistake in their 300-year history. They thought they were demonstrating power. Instead, they have signed their own death warrant. This is not a threat. This is not anger speaking. This is a promise backed by 400 years of human history." She looked directly at the council president. "We practiced restraint because we chose to. They have shown us that choice was a mistake. You will not see human ambassadors in this chamber again until there are no more Valorians to threaten us." She left. Within 6 hours, every human ambassador departed every alien world. Every human diplomat, every human trader, every human civilian traveling in alien space received the same message. Return home immediately. Every human ship in the galaxy turned toward Earth. The galaxy watched in confusion. Was humanity retreating? Were they preparing to surrender? 72 hours after the New Harmony massacre, the Valorian Empire sent their fleets toward Earth's other colonies. They expected frightened populations ready to give up. They expected easy victories. They found empty worlds. Humanity had evacuated every colony in 3 days. Not a single human remained outside the Sol system. The Valorians celebrated. The humans were cowards after all. They had run home to hide. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Minjun Choi stood on the bridge of the UHSF Retribution. Around her, 10,000 warships hung in space. But these were just the visible ones. In Earth's shipyards, in hidden construction facilities throughout the Sol system, something else was being prepared. Admiral Choi addressed her commanders on secured channels. Their faces filled dozens of screens before her. Some were calm. Some showed anger. All showed determination. 9 million people, she said quietly. They killed 9 million humans and broadcast it for the galaxy to see. She pulled up tactical displays showing Valorian territory. For 200 years, we have followed galactic law. We have limited our military. We have played by their rules. The Valorians have shown us that following rules only protects those who break them. Her eyes were hard as steel. Operation Extinction begins now. We will not stop until the Valorian Empire is nothing but a memory. We will make sure that no species, ever again, treats human life so carelessly. The galaxy wanted to see what humanity looks like when we stop holding back. Now they will learn. Across the fleet, weapons systems came online. Stealth ships that the Valorians did not know existed powered up their drives. Soldiers who had trained for wars they hoped would never come checked their equipment one final time. Humanity was no longer playing by anyone's rules but their own. Captain Seo Yun Kim watched the Valorian supply depot through her sensors. The UHSF Revenant hung in space, completely invisible to their scanners. Stealth technology that humanity had developed in secret for decades kept her ship hidden. The Valorians had no idea anything was watching them. Target confirmed, her tactical officer said quietly. 17 supply ships, 3 escort cruisers, approximately 2,000 Valorian personnel. Seo Yun nodded. This was the 12th target in 3 weeks. The pattern was always the same. Hunt in silence. Strike without warning. Leave no survivors. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta, she ordered. 6 other stealth ships appeared from nowhere on Valorian sensors. By the time the escorts realized they were under attack, it was already over. Human weapons, designed specifically to counter Valorian shields, tore through their defenses. The supply ships tried to scatter. None made it to jump distance. 15 minutes later, the depot was destroyed. Every ship was wreckage. Every Valorian was dead. Standard message package, Seo Yun said. Her communications officer activated a beacon among the debris. It would play on repeat, broadcasting the footage from New Harmony. 6 hours of massacre. 9 million dead. Anyone who found this debris field would know why it happened. The Revenant vanished back into darkness. Across Valorian space, 200 ships like hers hunted. They struck supply lines, destroyed communications relays, eliminated military outposts. The attacks followed no pattern the Valorians could predict. Sometimes 3 targets died in 1 day. Sometimes nothing happened for a week. The uncertainty was its own weapon. Supreme Overlord Krathen stood in his command center, staring at reports that made no sense. In 6 weeks, he had lost contact with 40% of his outer territories. Ships vanished without sending distress calls. Entire garrisons went silent overnight. How are they doing this? He demanded. We destroyed their defense fleet. We killed millions of them. They should be broken. His chief military advisor, General Thax, looked uncomfortable. My lord, we may have underestimated human capabilities. These attacks show coordination and technology far beyond what we observed before. They are primitives. They barely have jump drive technology. That is what they showed us, Thax said carefully. It appears they were hiding their true strength. Krathen smashed his fist on the console. Then we hit them harder. Send the 3rd and 5th fleets to Earth. We will destroy their homeworld and end this. My lord, we have lost 12 ships trying to reach Sol system. They never arrive. We do not know what is destroying them. Send more ships, Krathen roared. Send 100 ships. But numbers were not enough. Human ships moved faster than Valorian sensors could track. They struck from impossible angles. They appeared, killed, and vanished before response forces arrived. Every Valorian commander who encountered them reported the same thing. These were not desperate survivors fighting a losing battle. These were apex predators hunting prey. On the council station, the Galactic Council met in secret session. Ambassador Su-Jin Lee, who had replaced Ji-1 Park, stood before them. She was younger, but her eyes held the same hard determination. You asked for a meeting, the council president said nervously. The council wishes to mediate peace between humanity and the Valorians. No, Su-Jin said simply. Ambassador Lee, please be reasonable. The violence must stop. We can negotiate. Negotiate what? Her voice cut like a blade. The Valorians murdered 9 million civilians and broadcast it for entertainment. You sat here and watched. You did nothing. Now you want us to stop defending ourselves? The Thelian ambassador, who had been Ji-1's friend, spoke gently. We understand your anger, Su-Jin. But this path leads only to more death. The Valorians are offering to discuss terms. They can discuss terms with the Void, Su-Jin replied. Let me be clear so there is no misunderstanding. Humanity will accept no peace, no ceasefire, no negotiation until the Valorian military is destroyed and their government is eliminated. They wanted to show the galaxy their power. Now they will learn what real power looks like. You are speaking of genocide, someone whispered. We are speaking of justice, Su-Jin corrected. They had a choice. They chose to murder our children. We will make sure they never threaten another living soul. She pulled up a holographic display showing Valorian territory. Red markers showed where humanity had struck. There were hundreds of them. In 8 weeks, we have eliminated 1/3 of their military infrastructure. We have done this while suffering fewer than 3,000 casualties. The Valorians built their empire on fear and brutality. We are showing them what happens when you mistake human restraint for weakness. The council chamber was silent. Species that had existed for thousands of years looked at this young human woman and felt something they had not expected. Fear, not of what humans were, but of what they were becoming. You feared the Valorians, Su-Jin continued. You let them conquer 47 worlds, because you were afraid to stand against them. Now you see what happens when someone does stand against them. They are not invincible. They are not unstoppable. They are bullies who never faced someone willing to hit back harder. She closed the display. Humanity tried peace. We followed galactic law. We showed restraint. The Valorians responded by killing 9 million people in 6 hours. You want to know what humanity looks like when we stop showing restraint? Keep watching. She left the chamber. Behind her, ambassadors from dozens of species looked at each other with growing concern. The Valorians were monsters. Yes, but they were predictable monsters. What humanity was becoming was something else entirely. In Valorian High Command, General Thax reviewed the latest reports. They were losing. Not slowly, but rapidly. The humans were dismantling the Empire piece by piece. Every day brought news of more losses, more ships destroyed, more outposts silenced, more territory going dark. My lord, he said to Krathen, we must consider evacuation of the core worlds, if the humans reach them. We are Valorians, Krathen shouted. We do not run from prey species. They are not prey, Thax said quietly. That is what we failed to understand. We thought destroying one colony would terrify them. Instead, we showed them we were their enemy. We showed them there could be no peace between our species. A young officer rushed in. Supreme Overlord. Emergency transmission from Sector 7. The screen showed a Valorian commander, his face pale with fear. Behind him, alarms blared. We are under attack, They came from nowhere. We cannot target them. They are... The transmission cut to static. That is the 4th command center today, Thax said. My lord. They are not trying to conquer us. They are trying to erase us. End quote. Crathen stared at the dead screen. For the first time in his life, he felt something unfamiliar. It took him a moment to recognize the feeling. It was fear. In deep space, Captain Kim docked her ship for resupply. She met with other stealth ship commanders in a briefing. Their mission was working. Valorian space was chaos. Their military was scattered and desperate. Next phase begins in 1 week, the briefing officer told them. We have confirmed locations of all major Valorian fleet concentrations. Admiral Choi is bringing the main battle groups. Your job is to make sure none of their ships escape when we hit them. Seo Yun looked at the tactical display showing Valorian core systems. 9 million faces flashed through her mind. She thought of New Harmony, the planet where she had visited her sister's family 2 years before the massacre. They were all gone now. No survivors, she said quietly. The briefing officer nodded. No survivors. Those are the orders. The hunters were closing in. The Valorians had nowhere left to run. Admiral Min Jun Choi stood before the tactical display showing the entire Valorian Empire. Red markers showed human forces. Blue markers showed Valorian military positions. In the past 3 months, the blue markers had decreased by half. The red markers now surrounded every major Valorian system. Status report, she ordered. Her tactical officer pulled up data streams. All battle groups are in position. Stealth forces have confirmed enemy fleet locations. Sabotage teams have compromised orbital defenses on 8 core worlds. We are ready to begin final operations. Min Jun studied the display. Everything humanity had built in secret for 200 years was now deployed. Ships designed in hidden facilities. Weapons tested where no one could see. Tactics developed by military minds who understood that following galactic limits only worked if everyone followed them. The Valorians had shown that not everyone followed the rules. Begin the assault, she ordered. All battle groups, execute Operation Reckoning. Across Valorian space, humanity struck simultaneously. It was not the scattered raids of the past months. This was total war. Human battle groups emerged from jump space at every major Valorian military installation at the same moment. The Valorians had never seen coordination like this. Human ships moved like parts of a single organism. When one ship fired, 10 others were already in position to cover it. When Valorian forces tried to concentrate, they found human ships already waiting for them. General Thax watched in horror as his carefully positioned fleets were torn apart. The humans knew where every ship was. They knew every defensive position. They had clearly been gathering intelligence for months. How are they coordinating this? His tactical officer shouted over the sound of alarms. No species can manage this many ships simultaneously. Thax understood what his officer could not accept. The humans had built artificial intelligence systems far beyond galactic standards. Every human ship was connected, sharing data in real time, adjusting tactics faster than any biological mind could process. They built a war machine, Thax said quietly. Supreme Overlord Crathen appeared on the command screen. Report. My lord, we are under attack across all sectors. Estimated human forces exceed 50,000 ships. Our fleets are being destroyed faster than we can coordinate defense. 50,000. Crathen's face showed disbelief. They barely had a fleet 3 months ago. They had a fleet, my lord. They simply kept it hidden. This was planned long before New Harmony. I believe we walked into a trap. On Earth, Ambassador Sujin Lee broadcast a message across the galaxy. Every species received it simultaneously. She stood against a background showing the memorial on New Harmony, where 9 million names were carved in stone. 3 months ago, the Valorian Empire murdered 9 million humans, she began. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. That made it more terrifying. They broadcasted across the galaxy. They wanted everyone to see. They wanted to demonstrate their power and our weakness. She gestured to data displays, showing current battle reports. This is humanity's response. We are not weak. We are not helpless. For 200 years, we followed galactic law. We limited our military. We practiced restraint. The Valorians showed us that restraint is seen as weakness by predators. The displays showed Valorian fleets being systematically destroyed. We are not proud of what we must do, but we will do it. The Valorian military will be eliminated. Their government will be removed. Their species will learn what it means to cross a line that cannot be uncrossed. She looked directly at the camera. To other species watching this, understand what you are seeing. This is not aggression. This is justice. The Valorians chose to make an enemy of humanity. We are simply showing them the consequences of that choice. We will ensure that no species ever again treats human life so carelessly. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, species that had dismissed humanity as primitive newcomers reconsidered their assessment. The humans had hidden their true capabilities behind a mask of compliance. Now the mask was off. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Every ambassador looked shaken. The Thelian ambassador spoke first. The humans are winning. In 3 months, they have destroyed what took the Valorians 300 years to build. They are doing more than winning, the council president said quietly. They are erasing the Valorians from existence. Every battle ends with no Valorian survivors. Every captured world is purged of Valorian influence. This is not war. This is extinction. And they have the right to it, a new voice said. Ambassador Sujin Lee stood at the chamber entrance. You did not invite me, but I came anyway. You need to understand what is happening. She walked to the center of the chamber. You are afraid. You are afraid because you are seeing what humanity becomes when you force us to fight. For thousands of years, you species have waged limited wars. You conquer, but you do not destroy. She pulled up images of New Harmony, of the massacre, of 9 million dead. The Valorians did not follow rules. They showed us that in this galaxy, following rules only protects those who break them. So we stopped following them. You are committing genocide, someone said. Yes, Sujin agreed simply. We are. And before you judge us, ask yourself this question. What would your species do if someone murdered 9 million of your people and broadcast it for entertainment? Would you negotiate? Would you forgive? The chamber was silent. Humanity practices restraint because we understand the alternative, she continued. We know what total war looks like. We have practiced it on ourselves for thousands of years. We hoped we would never need to use that knowledge against others. The Valorians made that hope impossible. She looked around the chamber, meeting every ambassador's eyes. This is the only lesson the Valorians will receive. This is the only lesson they can receive. And every species in this galaxy is learning it with them. Humanity prefers peace, but we will never hesitate to destroy those who threaten our children. In Valorian space, the assault continued. Human forces pushed deeper into core territory. Every world that resisted was destroyed. Every fleet that fought was eliminated. The Valorians were learning a terrible truth. They had built an empire on fear, but they had never faced an enemy that refused to be afraid. Supreme Overlord Krathen stood in his fortress on the Valorian homeworld. Around him, his remaining loyal guards prepared for the inevitable. Human forces were 3 days away. His fleets were destroyed. His empire was gone. General Thax entered the command center. My lord, we must evacuate. We can reach deep space. Rebuild. No, Krathen said. We are Valorians. We do not run. Then we die, Thax said simply. Yes, we die. Krathen pulled up the last reports from the front. Everywhere, defeat. Everywhere, destruction. I made a mistake, Thax. I thought they were like the others. I thought killing enough of them would break their spirit. You were wrong, my lord. I was wrong. Crothan looked at the view screen showing space where human ships gathered like a storm. They did not break. They transformed. We did not make them afraid. We made them angry. We did not show them our power. We showed them why they needed to use theirs. Fourth, one. He turned to his loyal guards. When they come, we fight. We give them no easy victory. Perhaps, in our final stand, we can show them that Valorians also know how to die with honor. But honor meant nothing to the humans approaching. They had not come for honor. They had come for justice. Admiral Choi watched the Valorian homeworld growing larger on her screens. Around her, the combined might of humanity's military prepared for the final assault. She thought of new harmony. She thought of 9 million names on a memorial wall. She thought of her own sister, killed in the massacre. All ships, she said quietly. Begin bombardment. Target all military installations. Spare civilian infrastructure where possible. But accept no surrender from military forces. Remember what they did. Remember why we are here. The bombardment began. The Valorian Empire was dying, and humanity was making sure it would never rise again. The sky above the Valorian homeworld burned, not with fire, but with light, from human weapons striking from orbit. Captain Seo-Yoon Kim watched through her ship's sensors as kinetic strikes destroyed military installations with surgical precision. Each strike was calculated to destroy only the target. The humans were not interested in killing civilians. They wanted the military. They wanted the government. They wanted everyone responsible for New Harmony. Military Command Center destroyed, her tactical officer reported. Orbital defense grid offline. Planetary shield generators eliminated. Primary spaceport destroyed. Seo-Yoon noted each target as it fell. 3 months of intelligence gathering had mapped every important military facility on the planet. The Valorians had nowhere to hide. Ground forces report ready for insertion, communications said. Special operations teams are standing by. For primary objective. The primary objective was Supreme Overlord Crothan himself, the man who had ordered the massacre, the man who thought 9 million deaths would break humanity's will. Send them in, Seo-Yoon ordered. Tell Captain Lehman Park that Crothan must not escape. On the surface, the Valorian capital city was in chaos. Citizens ran through streets as military convoys tried to reach defensive positions, but every major intersection was blocked by destroyed vehicles. Every route was compromised by human intelligence teams that had infiltrated weeks ago. Captain Lehman Park led his special operations team through the underground tunnels beneath the Supreme Overlord's fortress. They moved in silence, using maps stolen from Valorian military databases. They knew this fortress better than most of the guards protecting it. 2 guards ahead, his point man whispered. Armed with plasma rifles. Lehman signaled. 2 shots. Silenced. The guards dropped. Above them, in the fortress command center, Supreme Overlord Crothan watched his world collapse. General Thax stood beside him, watching the same displays. The Eastern Military District is gone, Thax reported. Western Command is not responding. The orbital platforms are all destroyed. My lord, we have perhaps 1 hour before human ground forces reach this position. Crothan said nothing. He simply stared at the screens showing human ships in orbit. So many ships. Where had they all come from? How had humanity hidden such power? You were right, Thax, he finally said. I made a mistake. I thought they were like the others we conquered. Weak, divided, easy to frighten. They were never weak, my lord. They simply chose not to show their strength until we gave them reason. 9 million reasons, Crothan said bitterly. I killed 9 million of them and thought it would terrify them into submission. Instead, I showed them why they needed to destroy us. Alarms blared. Sir! Intruders in the lower levels. They are inside the fortress. Crathen pulled out his sidearm. Around him, his elite guard formed a defensive perimeter. If he was going to die, he would die fighting. Captain Park's team moved through the fortress methodically. They cleared each level, eliminating guards who resisted, bypassing those who surrendered. They were not here for regular soldiers. They were here for the leadership. Command level ahead, Park's second-in-command said. Heavy resistance expected. Then we go through them, Park replied simply. The assault on the command level was brief and brutal. Valorian guards fought with desperate courage. It was not enough. Human training, human weapons, human determination crushed the defense in minutes. Park kicked open the door to the main command center. Inside, Crathen stood behind a barricade with his remaining guards. The Supreme Overlord raised his weapon. Come then, humans, he shouted. Show me this vaunted strength. Park did not waste words. His team moved with practiced efficiency. The guards fell one by one. Crathen fired wildly, hitting nothing. When his weapon clicked empty, he threw it down and charged forward. Park shot him 3 times, center mass. The Supreme Overlord fell to the floor, bleeding. Park walked over and looked down at the dying alien. This is for New Harmony, he said quietly. This is for 9 million people you murdered. Crathen coughed blood. You are monsters. No, Park replied. We are what you made us. Crathen died staring at the human soldier above him. His last sight was of Park, activating his communicator and saying simply, Primary objective, eliminated. The Supreme Overlord is dead. In orbit, Admiral Choi received the news. She felt no satisfaction, no joy, only a grim sense of completion. One death could never balance 9 million. But it was a start. Broadcast it, she ordered. Make sure every Valorian in the galaxy sees it. Make sure everyone knows the price for what they did. The footage of Crathen's death spread across the galaxy within hours. The Supreme Overlord, who had ruled with absolute power for 50 years, killed by human soldiers in his own fortress. The Valorian Empire was truly finished, but the war was not over. The Valorian military still had forces scattered across their former territory. Nearly 300 ships had gathered in deep space, carrying survivors of the government and military. They planned to flee, to rebuild, to perhaps return one day. Admiral Choi was not going to let that happen. Fleet status? She asked. All battle groups ready. The Valorian remnant fleet is at the coordinates predicted. They are preparing to jump to deep space. How long until they reach jump distance? 12 hours. Then we have 12 hours to end this. Choi pulled up the tactical display. 300 Valorian ships carrying perhaps 200,000 people. The last organized military force the Valorians had. All ships, prepare for final engagement. No escape pods will be recovered. No surrender will be accepted. When we finish today, the Valorian military will cease to exist. Her officers looked at her. Some faces showed discomfort. What they were about to do was not war. It was extermination. I know what you are thinking, Choi said quietly. You are wondering if we have become the monsters we are fighting. You are wondering if this is justice or revenge. She pulled up images of New Harmony on the main screen. 9 million faces, 9 million names, 9 million lives ended for no reason but cruelty. These people cannot be allowed to escape, she continued. If even one Valorian warship survives, if even one carrier of their military tradition lives, they will rebuild. They will return. And one day, they will kill humans again. We cannot allow that. We will not allow that. She looked at each officer in turn. What we do today is not revenge. It is prevention. We are making sure that the Valorian threat ends permanently. History will judge us. But history will also show that we did what was necessary to protect humanity's future. The human fleet jumped. They emerged in the deep space sector where the Valorian remnant had gathered. The 300 Valorian ships saw them coming and tried to scatter. It was too late. The battle lasted 8 hours. It was not really a battle. It was an execution. Human ships hunted down every Valorian vessel. When ships tried to surrender, humanity ignored the signals. When escape pods launched, human ships destroyed them. By the end, 300 ships were wreckage. 200,000 Valorians were dead. Not one survived. Admiral Choi watched the last ship die. She felt hollow inside. They had won. The Valorian Empire was extinct as a military power. But the cost of victory was high. Not in human lives, they had lost remarkably few. The cost was in what humanity had become. "Ma'am," her communications officer said quietly, "we are receiving thousands of transmissions from across the galaxy. Every species is watching. They saw what we did." "So, let them watch," Choi said. "Let them see what happens when you force humanity to fight. Let them understand the price." She broadcast one final message across the galaxy. "The Valorian Empire is ended. Their military is destroyed. Their government is eliminated. We did not want this war. They brought it to us when they murdered 9 million civilians and broadcast it for the galaxy to see. Now the galaxy has seen our response. One, on 9,070. On 9 million. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "To every species watching this, humanity seeks peace. We prefer cooperation. But we will never again allow others to think our restraint is weakness. The Valorians learned this lesson too late. Do not make their mistake." On the Galactic Council station, ambassadors watched the human broadcast in silence. The Thelian ambassador spoke first. They did it. They actually eliminated an entire empire. Not the people, someone corrected. The military and government. The Valorian civilians on conquered worlds still live, but they will never threaten anyone again, another ambassador said. The humans made sure of that. Ambassador Sujin Lee entered the chamber. She looked tired, like she had not slept in days. "The war is over," she said simply. "The Valorian military no longer exists. You committed genocide," someone accused. "We committed justice," Sujin corrected. Every Valorian soldier who died today was part of a military that murdered 9 million civilians. Every officer who died commanded forces that committed atrocities. We did not kill innocents. We killed the guilty. The chamber erupted in argument. Some species agreed with humanity's actions. Others condemned them. But every species understood the same thing. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had proven they were not helpless newcomers. They were a power that could destroy empires, and they had the will to do it. 6 months after the last Valorian warship died, Captain Seo Yoon Kim stood on New Harmony. The planet had been rebuilt. New cities rose where old ones had burned. Farms stretched across valleys that had been scorched by orbital bombardment. Life returned to the world where 9 million had died, but the dead were not forgotten. In the center of the main city, a memorial stood. A massive wall of black stone carved with 9 million names. Reading every name aloud took 73 hours. Seo Yoon had listened to the complete reading once, sitting in silence for 3 days, hearing each name spoken. She found the section with her sister's family. Ji Yoon Kim. Her husband, Tae Ho. Their 3 children. Min Soo, age 12. Hana, age 9. Little Jay, age 4. Seo Yoon placed flowers at the base of the wall. "We got them, Ji Yoon," she whispered. "Every single one. The Supreme Overlord. His generals. Every ship. Every soldier. They paid for what they did to you. I hope you are at peace." She stood there for a long time, thinking about the price of victory. The Valorians were gone as a military power. Their empire was scattered. Their people lived on conquered worlds under new governments. They would never threaten anyone again. But what had humanity become in the process of destroying them? On Earth, the debate raged. The World Assembly met daily to discuss the war and its aftermath. Some praised the military for protecting humanity. Others condemned the extinction of the Valorian military as genocide. The arguments were fierce and emotional. Admiral Min Jun Choi stood before the assembly to testify. She wore her uniform with all the medals she had earned. She looked tired, but unbroken. "You ask if we went too far," she said, when the questioning began. "You ask if exterminating the Valorian military was justified. Let me answer clearly. Yes, it was justified, and I will not apologize for what we did." The chamber erupted in shouting. The chairperson called for order. The Valorians murdered 9 million civilians and broadcasted across the galaxy. They did not target military installations. They did not fight soldiers. They executed children and elderly people and farmers. They wanted to terrify us into surrender. She pulled up images on the main screen. New Harmony, burning, bodies in streets, children running from falling buildings. This is what they did. This is what we avenged. We did not start this war. We did not choose to fight. But once forced to fight, we fought to win completely. A representative stood. But did we need to eliminate every Valorian military vessel? Could we not have accepted surrender? And what would happen then? Choi asked. We let them survive, let them rebuild, and in 50 years, they attack another species? In 100 years, they return to attack us? No. The only way to ensure permanent safety was permanent elimination of their military capability. You sound like a monster, someone said. Choi's eyes flashed. Then I am a monster who kept humanity safe. I am a monster who made sure no Valorian will ever again kill human children. And if that makes me a monster in your eyes, I will bear that judgment. But our children will live. That is what matters. The questioning continued for hours. In the end, the assembly voted to support the military's actions by a narrow margin. The war was judged necessary, and the elimination of the Valorian military was deemed justified given their actions on New Harmony. But the vote did not end the debate. It would continue for generations. Humanity had crossed a line, and returning from it would be difficult. On the Galactic Council station, Ambassador Su Jin Lee worked to build a new peace. She had spent 6 months negotiating what became known as the New Harmony Accords. Every major species in the galaxy was represented at the signing. These accords establish clear rules for warfare, Su Jin explained to the assembled ambassadors. The targeting of civilians is banned completely. Any species that commits mass civilian casualties will face collective action from all signatory species, including action like humanity took against the Valorians? Someone asked nervously. Exactly like that, Su Jin confirmed. The Valorians showed us that words and condemnations mean nothing to predators. Only force matters. These accords ensure that force will be used collectively to stop atrocities. The Thelian ambassador looked concerned. You are essentially giving humanity a veto over warfare in the galaxy. If any species violates these terms, humanity could unilaterally respond with extinction-level force. Yes, Su Jin agreed. That is exactly what we are doing. The galaxy now understands what humanity is capable of when forced to fight. We prefer not to fight. But these accords ensure everyone understands the consequences if they target civilians. Every species signed. They had no real choice. Humanity had proven they had the capability and will to destroy any military that threatened them. Better to accept rules that prevented such conflicts than to risk becoming the next Valorians. 10 years after the war ended, New Harmony thrived. A new generation grew up on the rebuilt planet. They learned about the massacre in schools. They visited the memorial wall. They understood what had happened, and why. G1 Park, the ambassador who had walked out of the Galactic Council during the massacre, had retired. She now lived on New Harmony, teaching history at the university. She wanted students to understand both the horror of what was done and the necessity of humanity's response. One day, a student asked her, "Do you think we were right to eliminate the Valorian military?" G1 considered the question carefully. Right and wrong are complex in war. The Valorians committed an unforgivable crime. Our response was proportional to their action, but it was still terrible in its totality. We became executioners. We ended an empire. That is not something to celebrate. Argen das Plan. Our first. But you support what we did? The student pressed. I support our survival, G1 said. I support making sure no one ever again thinks they can kill millions of humans without consequences. The Valorians thought we were weak. They learned otherwise. The galaxy learned otherwise. And for 10 years, we have had peace, because everyone understands what happens to those who target human civilians. She looked out the window at the city, rebuilt and beautiful. 9 million people died here. We cannot bring them back. But we can honor their memory by ensuring their deaths meant something. The New Harmony Accords have prevented 3 potential wars already. Species that might have committed atrocities stopped because they remembered the Valorians. Another student raised her hand. Teacher Park, do you think humanity has changed? Are we different now? Yes, G1 said honestly. We are different. We learned that restraint only works if everyone practices it. We learned that following rules only protects those who break them. We learned that sometimes, to protect the innocent, you must be willing to do terrible things to the guilty. She paused, choosing her words carefully. We are no longer innocent ourselves. We carry the weight of what we did to the Valorians. But we are alive. Our children are safe. And the galaxy is more peaceful because of the hard lesson we taught. On that same day, a Valorian civilian visited the memorial on New Harmony. Her name was Sylthea, and she had been a teacher on a Valorian-occupied world. She had opposed the Empire's brutality, but had been powerless to stop it. She found G1 after class. Ambassador Park? I am sorry to disturb you, but I wanted to speak with someone who lived through the war. G1 studied the Valorian woman. She felt no anger, only sadness. What do you want to say? I want to apologize, Sylthea said quietly. My people committed an unforgivable crime here. I taught Valorian children to believe in the Empire's superiority. I was part of the system that created monsters like Krathen. You were not on the ships that bombed this planet, G1 said. No. But I supported the Empire that did it. I believed we had the right to conquer others. Sylthea looked at the memorial wall, stretching into the distance. 9 million names. I have read them all. It took me months. I needed to understand the scale of what my people did. Why? G1 asked. Why torture yourself with this? Because someone must remember from our side too, Sylthea replied. The Valorian military is gone. Our government is scattered. But our civilians remain on many worlds. We are teaching our children about what happened. We are making sure they understand that supremacy leads only to destruction. G1 studied the Valorian woman for a long moment. Then she made a decision. They walked through the memorial garden together. G1 pointed to different sections. Here are the children who died. Ages: 1 month to 17 years. 3 million of them. She moved to another section. Here are the elderly, those over 70 years old. They survived wars and struggles to retire here, in peace. 500,000 of them. Sylthea wept as they walked. When they finished the complete circuit of the memorial, she said, How can you bear to speak to me? My people did this. Your people paid for it. G1 said simply, Every Valorian soldier who committed atrocities is dead. Your military is gone. Your government is eliminated. The debt is paid in full. She looked at the Valorian teacher. But the memory must remain. Both species must remember what happens when cruelty meets determination. Years passed. New Harmony became a symbol throughout the galaxy. The memorial drew visitors from hundreds of species. They came to understand what the Valorians had done and what humanity had done in response. The galaxy had changed. Aggressive species reconsidered their policies. Wars became less common. The New Harmony Accords prevented several conflicts before they began. Species that might have fought instead negotiated, remembering the lesson of the Valorians. Humanity had earned a reputation. They were not conquerors. They did not seek empire. But everyone understood. If you threatened human civilians, humanity would respond with absolute determination. They would not stop, would not negotiate, would not show mercy until the threat was eliminated completely. Some called it peace through fear. Others called it justice through strength. Whatever the name, it worked. On the 50th anniversary of the massacre, an aged Admiral Choi gave a speech at the New Harmony Memorial. She was 90 years old now, her hair white, but her eyes still sharp. 50 years ago, the Valorians killed 9 million people here, she said to the assembled crowd. They thought it would break us. Instead, it revealed what humanity becomes when you take everything from us. She looked at the memorial wall. We are not proud of exterminating the Valorian military. We are not proud of becoming executioners. But we are alive. Our children are safe. And for 50 years, the galaxy has been more peaceful, because everyone remembers what happened here. The Valorians wanted to demonstrate their power. They succeeded. But they also demonstrated something else, that there are lines you cannot cross without consequences. They chose to cross that line. We made sure they paid the price. She finished her speech with words that would be remembered for generations. We did not want to be warriors. We wanted to be explorers, builders, and friends to all species. The Valorians made that impossible, so we became what we needed to be to survive. We became the species that ends threats permanently, and the galaxy is safer for it. As the sun set over New Harmony, children played in parks built on ground that once ran with blood. Human and alien families lived side by side, raising children who knew peace. The memorial stood as a reminder of both the horror that drove humanity to war and the determination that ended it. The Valorian Empire was gone. But the memory remained. And in that memory, the galaxy found wisdom. Do not mistake humanity's preference for peace as weakness. Do not think their restraint means they cannot fight. And never, ever threaten their children. Because if you do, humanity will show you what they are truly capable of. And by the time you understand your mistake, it will be too late.